Hey guys, what's up? I am Papi Petah. Welcome to the studio, especially if it's your first time. If you've seen a few of my videos and you keep coming back for more, you should consider subscribing and hitting the notifications tab. Alright boys, back to business. We are going to do the Prestige Cup right now, the 2021 Mustang Mach 1. But I want to give you a quick update. I spent about $23 million on the Fast and Furious right now. I still don't have enough money to get all the fusion parts on there, so I know that those videos are coming soon. I just need to grind a little bit more, but yeah, 23 million all the way down to looks like $1,200, $1,300. So, but let's do this Prestige Cup. All right, fellas. For those of you who just downloaded the game, I highly recommend doing the Prestige Cup because look at all of this stuff that you can get. You may not be able to finish it, but go as far as you can possibly go if you pulled the car. Now on the Prestige Cup, typically I give you guys fun facts about the car manufacturer. So let's go ahead and get started on that after this first race. So I'm gonna start off with my favorite fun fact. And that is, for those of you who like to grill, use charcoal, there was a guy by the name of Kingsford that was working for Henry Ford. And Kingsford helped gather all the wood. Because when we think about cars, we think about metal and plastic. So the new cars today, we think metal and plastic, but back in the day, they were made a lot by wood. So Kingsford helped Henry Ford gather all this wood so they could make the cars. But there was a lot of waste. So Henry Ford was thinking, man, what can we do with this waste, with all this waste? So what they did was they, I forgot the process, but they kind of combusted and made the wood chips into charcoal. So they were using some of the waste from the actual wood and they made charcoal. Now whenever they first started marketing it, it was basically called Ford, just Ford briquettes or Ford coal or something like that. But whenever Henry passed, not Henry, excuse me, the other guy, Kingsford, whenever he passed, they went ahead and just gave it the name Kingsford. So long story short, not only did he make cars, but he also helped invent charcoal. So if you like grilling and you see Kingsford, Henry Ford had a lot to do with that. Now Ford is the second largest family-owned company. It's, I think that's pretty amazing because most people, assume, or they'll say, oh, the mom and pop store or something like that, referring to it's a family-owned business but very, very small. That is not the case with Ford. It's the second largest family-owned business, and I believe the great-grandson, William Clay Ford, I believe he's the one running the show right now. So the first Ford was sold in 1903. It was $850 and it had 30 horsepower. That was a lot back in the day, you know, because most people, they used, you know, horses back in the day and things of that nature. So whenever you had a 30 mile per hour car, that was pretty good. And the thing is, I always like to read about, learn about the history behind logos. The The logo didn't really come into play until 4 years after, so 1907. 1907 is whenever they started doing the logo, and the logo was basically, they just kept the name, and it was just a blue oval. There's no significance behind it, there's no meaning. You know, Henry Ford was like, man, I'm trying to make cars. I'm not trying to make logos. I'm not trying to do that. So I thought that was pretty neat. I was hoping that there was something behind it that blew either the color or the oval, or I thought that there would be something a little bit more to it, but I couldn't find anything. But they just put the name on the car. So for those of you who like the Doors, Jim Morrison, a 1967 Shelby was the only car, the Shelby GT was the only car that Jim Morrison ever owned. That's a trip. Because whenever I think of celebrities, especially the celebrities nowadays, you think that they have like 2, 3, maybe 4 cars. He only had that one, and it was a Ford. Man, I truly think that Henry Ford was way ahead of his time, because as he was making these cars, he knew that it was taking a toll on the earth. So he was the first to use biofuels. He was actually burning human waste and animal waste to make biofuels, and he was using that before anyone even knew what that was. And everybody knows who Thomas Edison is. He's the guy with the electricity and the light bulb and all that other stuff. Henry Ford was actually a chief engineer for Thomas Edison. So Thomas Edison actually had a lot to do, because he gave a lot of influence to Henry Ford and told him, hey, if you want to start making cars, then go pursue your dream. He said, go pursue your dream. You want to make cars, but first, he was on call 24/7, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because Henry Ford his job was to make sure that there was constant electricity in Detroit at the time. So he was on call all the time, bro. He was on call all the time. But in between, on his off time, he made the first quadricycle. Now, even though Henry Ford wasn't the first to make the first car, his first moving vehicle was a quadricycle, and it was like 4 bicycle tires. It was 4 bicycle tires, a gear shaft, like a seat, and everything else that you need to make one of those things. But when that was successful, then he decided, because his dream was to make a horseless carriage, you know, a moving vehicle. And Thomas Edison said, hey man, you want to do it? Then do it. And then eventually he branched off and made the Ford Company in 1903. Bro, what race are we on? I'm over here flapping these gums. Okay, we're halfway through. We're on race 16. We're halfway there, bro. These speed traps. Back in the day, man, these speed traps, they used to intimidate me. So once you have enough fusion parts, they shouldn't be too bad. I know some of you are paying attention to the facts, and that's awesome. I'm glad you guys like those facts. But for those of you who just downloaded the game, we're getting RP points, we're getting money. Because I figured I don't have any money. I still have to upgrade some of my Fast and Furious cars. So this is a good way to get money as well. Back to the fun facts. Now in 1928, Henry Ford bought a whole bunch of acreage and land in some Amazonian jungle in Brazil. And the idea behind that was he wanted to make a little village, right? And the people that lived in the village, of course, would be his employees, but they would have everything that they needed, right? It'd have its own village store, and it was like a huge place, like a little mini city. But as he began building this, he realized that this is a really hard thing to do. It's a really hard thing to do, so it's not something that was easy. So that idea went blank. Like he left it. He couldn't make it happen because the whole thing was he needed a production company for rubber. He was trying to make a factory, and then the workers would work at the rubber factory, but then have everything that they needed to live within this village. It went stale, and that land that was owned by Ford, it's still abandoned. So it's like a little ghost town. Like, it's still abandoned to this day. No one's touched it or even done anything to it. So everybody knows the Le Mans race. I never did watch the movie, but there's Ferrari versus Ford, or Ford versus Ferrari. So in 1960 through 65, Ferrari won the Le Mans. They won the Le Mans 5 years in a row, or maybe it was 6 years in a row. Yeah, I think Ferrari won 6 years in a row. Anyway, when Ford came along, they made a supercar. And whenever they made this supercar, they actually won the race from 66 to 70. And at that time, they were actually trying to buy out Ferrari. I don't know if the movie shows all that stuff. I'm sure it does. I should watch the movie, man. I want to see that movie. Because I know a little bit about that movie. I mean, about what happens in the movie, but I haven't seen it. But I want to see if that rivalry is there, and did Henry Ford, and did they try and buy out Ferrari? I want to know all that stuff. I probably should watch that movie. Maybe I'll rent it. Where are we at now? 24. Okay, we only have a few more races, fellas. Just moving right along. Look at all that gold. 45. I love it when we can get resources. Right now, the hardest thing to get is money, man. It's money. It's like whenever... This is the reason why I didn't do the Regera events, because I knew I was going to do the Fast and Furious events. Alright. So I have a question too. I know that the United Kingdom will tune into the channel sometimes. And Ford Fiesta, I think it came out in 78 and it ran all the way through 81. So it was only a few years. And then it came back in 2009. When it came back, the Ford Fiesta came back in 2009. It was extremely popular. it gained so much popularity that it eventually moved to the United Kingdom. Now, whenever I think United Kingdom, I think European cars. I didn't think that Ford and Chevrolet were out there. So the reason why I say I want to ask you guys a question, supposedly I read that in 2018, the Ford Fiesta was pretty popular in the United Kingdom. So that would mean every now and again you'll see a Ford Fiesta out there in the United Kingdom. I really want to know that. I wanted to know if that's true. So anyone that tunes in from the United Kingdom, I know that there's a lot of compact cars there, and I know that the Ford Fiesta is super, super compact. But I want to know, is it really popular out there? Oh, here's another one. Monster trucks, Bigfoot. I believe it was, I forgot. There was a sponsorship. So the first Bigfoot truck was a Ford truck, and they pulled the sponsorship in 2017, and that's whenever Chevrolet kind of picked them up. But for the longest time, the first Bigfoot trucks were actually Ford trucks. So 1984 through 2007 is whenever they were sponsored. Not sponsored, they were sponsoring. Oh, there's a Stage 6. They were sponsoring the Bigfoot. I remember as a young boy, I went to a couple of those events. I used to love seeing all those monster trucks. They were super loud though, man. We all had to wear earplugs because it was so extremely loud. All right, this is it, fellas. This is the last race. We got one more to go. We got 1 cube of gas. Let's make it happen, man. So I wanted to tell you too, for those of you who just downloaded the game, if you join a crew, they're going to ask you to make a minimum. And by doing the Prestige Cup, you can get a lot. You can get about 300,000 RP points. The final race will get you 180,000. 180,000 RP points. And that's the reason why I do it. Look. Woo! That's the reason why I do it, man. So good. There you have it, fellas. That was the Prestige Cup for the Mach 1. It was super fun. I hope you liked the fun facts. We got about 290,000 that I can put towards fusion parts. So as soon as I can get all of my cars good to go, then I will begin the Fast and Furious event. But if there's anything about this video that you like, feel free to smash that like button, and you should consider subscribing, especially if you like the content and you keep coming back for more. I appreciate all the recent subscribers. I appreciate you watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.